some updates on making disciples and a bit of my journey of discipleship making. My hope is to just record a bit of things I'm learning along the way. Yeah, so I can't remember when I did the last video, but chat a couple things that I'm working on as we come into December. One is doing some planning. So here's my calendar. I don't know what planning looks like for you, but trying to get the planning calendar put together. And kind of the new year, I worked on a preaching calendar. Actually, I'm thinking I'm going to do some preaching through Romans 8. Still looks a little weird here, so I'm going to adjust while I talk. But anyways, Romans, not 8, so the book of Romans next year, and walking through that. I'm going to work with some of the other churches for next year's Advent. We're going to write some books together, a little devotional to put together and be able to help with that. Sorry for the adjustments. I'm trying to get the camera there. So there's a few things I've been working on. I think I mentioned my challenge. It's still been a bit of a mental challenge for me, something that happened. And I think the hard part is there's still unknowns for me. And so I'm having to learn to trust the Lord through it. And there's just some good personal challenges in the midst of that. It's hard for me to, when I look at those challenges, because there's a lot of good in, and, some of the people that I meet with, like when I think of what they are going through and my challenge, this is nothing. And so there's some perspective there that I have. I think one of the things for pastors who are on this journey or disciple makers, really, you don't have to be a pastor, but is just how you care for yourself. So I spent some time on that as I look at, my goals, my planning, not just for the church, but also myself, and how do I care for myself. And so I've added some people to help me that I can meet with to talk through, not about ministry stuff, but understand myself and work through my own pains and my own scars and my own journey, having someone to talk with. I just met with someone here, and they said, and it's one of those situations, like, I don't know how I'm helping. Like, there are major stuff in this person's life practically that they need help with. And we're still building trust, and he said, this is just good for me just to talk and help me stay human. And I was just reminded, because I was like, man, I need that in my own life too. And so I started that, where I can meet with someone who can help me work through my own stuff and my own ups and downs emotionally as I work through that. I'm also feeling tired at this point in December. Did probably a little too much in November, and not everything that I share here. There was more than what I spoke of on these videos anyways, and just realizing, like, I gotta readjust this timeline and figure some of these pieces out as I walk this journey. It's that managing, right? And that's my biggest challenge. I had somebody this week drop in as well so we're trying to create discipleship relationships. And so there's one of the leaders that I'm raising up who's now discipling 2 guys. He is part of a group that I meet with, this men's group. I think I've talked about that, and I'm teaching them the system in a sense, and investing in their life, and we're continuing to talk about how do we reach other men, and so he is now meeting with some people and discipling them and walking. And it was wonderful for him to come in, and it was one of those just not planned but dropped in and give an update on, hey, where things are at, and the wins that he was experiencing in this individual's life. They're going to have a pretty long journey for them, we think, but we're not going to give up on him. We're going to walk with him, and he's pretty, like, this individual can get very focused on something. Well, it has to be this, and we got to deal with this. And so we're trying to, like, hey, like, we're going to get there, but let's walk this process. And at some point, he'll get baptized as well. But we're walking that journey. And I was just reminded of the need of the process, the need for raising up leaders. I think even in the midst of that raising up leaders piece, is God, through that conversation and other conversations, I'm being reminded of the need for structure, and how is our structure helping us grow. And so I've wrestled a little bit with that. It just kind of more put it down as like, hey, this is something I need to spend some time thinking through and thinking about. But we're also preparing for Easter, my goodness, for Christmas. And so that's coming up quickly, and being able to see some goodness come. So I've got some stories. We're doing these little invites, these little gifts that people give other people as an invite to a Christmas Eve service or larger gatherings. And there's some, there's I think I've shared before, there's an ornament in there and chocolate and stuff. And so now I'm starting to get stories of people, hey, I tried this and here's who I talked. It was a great conversation. And some who man, I totally kind of fumbled. Some others, there's success. And hey, can I come and pick up 2 more? Someone asked. God's laid 2 people on my heart. And so my heart's stirred to see that. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And there's this great opportunity to serve. Doing 2 services makes me a little nervous for Christmas Eve, because are we going to fill them? What if it fails? And so having to deal with that emotion in my journey, and just got to trust the Lord through that. Even if it quote unquote fails, it's still in God's hands. And there's actually a lot of good things that have happened over this year or this month with Christmas Eve, and we'll see where it goes. I'll take some pictures and show you when we get there. Another win is, so I've been trying to connect with the business leaders, and there's a business leader here who they had called and said, hey, I try to help at least one person a year at this time of year and do something special. And I got thinking, man, you must know people. And so they gave me a call, and they wanted to help a woman. And so we have somebody whose daughter is moving back home to them, just had a baby, kind of coming out of a tough situation. And so we're trying to help. They're stabilizing their life and starting to walk that way anyways. And so I thought of them right away and talked with the mom who this daughter's going to stay with. So we can do that. And I'm thinking little, maybe 1 basket and some clothes, because they mentioned clothes. But check this out, is they, all of these bags right here have been given, and just absolutely amazing. And they not only did they give for the mom or the daughter, that we're helping, the lady, she's got a child, so they have some special stuff for the child. They also have stuff for the mom. Whoops, sorry about the camera there. And so that's it's just a real blessing to see that, and a relationship to grow. Of course, I invited them to Christmas Eve and trying to get them connected to stuff here, and we'll see where that all goes. Though I do know they've sent some people to us, because they were talking to me about, somebody was talking to me about this, and I thought, they should come and see you, and so I hope it's okay. But I sent them to you and gave them some information about the church. They don't come here, and so it's just an exciting conversation to have with this individual, and we'll see again where does that go with the Lord, and I don't know. I don't know if I mentioned I'm partnering I've invited E3 partners, the gentleman that I said, look, I need your guys' help with some stuff. And so we're going to work through some things to, what I hope is some coaching. We'll see. But there's some stuff where they'll help me do some ministry and making disciples. We're talking with them about coming back as well. And they're going to work with some of the other churches. So there's some good things coming out of that November 16th activity that we did with our discipleship. I'm excited about that. We're running Advent groups. We had this amazing last week meeting. So for these groups, we're running 2 different ones. I have someone else leading the one group. I'm leading the other group. And then the hope is they'll continue after. But we said, hey, come for 3 weeks and we'll do it. And so what I'm doing for the one group is we're using parts of the Chosen film. And so they had a first video I think it was called The Shepherd. We used that the first night. Tonight we're doing another Christmas message one. And then, so we watch the video, read the text, and then talk about it. And it was one of those moments last week we watched. The first video was about 30 minutes, read the text of the scriptures, and then I opened up for some conversation following kind of a DBS style. And what do we learn about God? What do we learn about ourselves? What God's calling us to? And the thing that stood out the most was this call that God spoke of. And maybe I shared this already. I can't remember. But it's still impacting me. This whole conversation that came up was that God came near. And it led to this conversation where people talked about for too often in their journey, they believed, and for so long they believed that because of their sin, God wouldn't come to them. And they were sinful, and God, and this image of God of kicking them out. But if I'm hearing the conversation and reading this text, what you're saying is God came to us. And then they related it to the book of Genesis, in the beginning of Genesis, how like God was walking with Adam and Eve in there, and they shared, like, I always kind of wondered, like, why can't we just do that? And so that opened up this door to talk about, like, that's actually what God's restoring. And they made the connection that it was their sin. It was they pushed, because of their sin, it was them pushing away from God. And now as we reflect on the Christmas story, being reminded as a group and them getting it, God came near. God came to us. And we talked about ways that happens in our life, and then what it looked like in different people's lives. It was just a wonderful, I came away very... a good feeling, and I know it's not always about good feelings, but that was something that stuck out for me in the discipleship. So we have another meeting tonight. We'll see where it goes. I'm excited to watch that and to have a conversation. I got 2 more people who might be interested to come out. And again, the whole point of this Advent group is just to give a taste. This is like, hey, come and try it. In 3 weeks, most people can do that. And then we say, hey, would you come? This Sunday we had another win with 6 people, brand new, different reasons showed up. You know, two of them I had conversations on before coming, so I knew they were coming. The other 2, what would that be? So 2, so then 5. Anyways, there was a family, and there was another single person. That person actually never got to, so I don't even know their name, and I haven't found anyone around them who had got contact information, but we'll trust the Lord to bring them again. And we also did our Cupcake Sunday. I'll throw a couple pictures up here of cupcakes last Sunday. And again, it's just a little bit of a bake-off. We have some voting. We eat some cupcakes. And then it's just community. That's kind of the point of that as we develop kind of that family relationship piece. So those are a few things. I don't know if they're helpful or what that might stir in you. But that's kind of been my journey for this report. And I hope it helps you. Where are you at in your discipleship? What's Christmas looked like? You know, when this will be out, I'm not doing this all like right away. There's a few weeks between recording, or more than a few weeks between recording and coming out. But how do you use Christmas for discipleship? I'd love to hear that in your space. Put it down in the comments. How is Christmas utilized to make disciples, to catalyze it, to shape people? And let's talk. Go make disciples.